Conference Cup so far. These two tanks go at each other, but Lunar finds Kelly Dudd out early, and you lose Emiliox, who is playing DPS today.
Yeah, this is really strange. I have two audios going on my ear right now. I'm going to fix that right now, and looks like we are probably good now. Yeah, we're going to assume we're good now. All right, cool. Everything's set and ready. Gosh, I love Overwatch. But yeah, first fight's over. Done. Taken care of. Honduras takes the first fight away. Ragozo and Kirby, tanks that I feel like I want to see a bit more out of this weekend, but have had good moments throughout the day, in my opinion. We need to see a little bit more of it here today as well.
Yeah, quick, what percentage are you at right now?
11%. Oh, I'm behind. Okay, so I'm behind
ahead.
in many aspects right now because I didn't get to do that. So I'm not 15% because I had to pause right there. Do I need to count you in, sir? As the fight's still going on, as both the tanks are going to be down. Amelia, though, doing a really good job cleaning things up, has gotten rid of two. Should be able to help the squad clear things out a little bit further, as it's going to be capped at 27%.
Okay, I think me and you are close enough. Karn gonna be able to shut down Bender Persona on the other side, and Kelly gonna be able to finish it up there. And this is exactly what you're looking for here. If you're Ecuador coming back in after nice play, after that first fight loss there, I think it was just Lunar Sky finding Kelly Dudd out so early on, and then everyone else kind of just rolled over, knowing that the fight was over. I think Kirby and Ecuador on this dive comp, it's gonna work out a little bit better on this point. But I think as we go over to the other point, it's gonna struggle a little bit as you already start to see Honduras rotate through White Room here now, and they're really gonna be playing around Rag here, just being able to build so much space up.
100% checking on forward as Emilio already down early, but again, Ragozo falls down as well to get this fight kind of going. And now the question is, what do you do? Do you still try to push this and fight back into this? And the answer right now seems to be, yeah, let's give it our all. They're going to pop this off, trying to make a little bit more space. We are going to see Cardinal going down in this fight, and you're going to see the flip be able to come through. And at this point right now, Kelly's trying to find somebody in this room as the copy has to be expended. Unfortunately, Z-Karma's going to get nothing from that.
And Kelly invests the overclock as well. Won't really find anything with it either, but it's going to help them stay alive. Now you do see Rag coming back, but they're going to be taken out by Emiliox, who, I'm going to be honest, seeing them on this Vendetta was a little bit of a shock to start off this map, but man, they have looked very, very good so far. But you look at this next fight coming up here, you're going to have your Kitsune Rush ready again there with your Primal Rage and another Sundering Blade for Ecuador. Honduras, I mean, you have a beat, you have your own overclock. Rag really needs to build up to Panopticon, but do they want it this fight? They might have to get it this fight and use it almost immediately, because this could be final fight if they decide to play slow here. And that Domina doesn't necessarily like to play fast, but Kelly Dudd already shutting down Z-Karma.
Yeah, and they go aggro with the beat anyway, thrown directly back there. Dread is sustaining through right now, and now Ragozo still has that Panopticon ready to go, and you might have to simply pull it in the situation, because who's going to come and touch? And it will come through, but that's going to get burst down immediately. Amelia trying to hang on super low, but it's just not going to matter, Dex. And with 90%, it is a rush to even barely touch this point.
I mean, Z-Karma should be able to get a Benja Persona, going to be able to just hit the rollout and get the touch there, so we will see an overtime come out, but now Daniel going to be killed there by Kirby. Karn going to be able to find Z-Karma as well.
Yeah, and this should just be done and dusted right here. Maybe Ragozo one more touch, but not even that. 100 to 45 right here. Good start going in for Ecuador. Sitting in a pretty good spot, all things considered. I like the Winston in the situation, though. I like the aggression that kind of opens up with the style that they're trying to play. Now, is it going to work as well as we head over to Night Market? Who knows? But look at these stats right here as, 14-1 for Kelly. That, to be fair, for everything we've seen from them, when Kelly pops off, they could play as good as almost anybody else, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to remember, Kelly's one death was the first kill of the map. I mean, it was very early on, so they essentially went 14-0 after that one right there. Most damage in the lobby, only beating out Kirby by a little bit, but I believe over 1,000 by anyone else on the other side. Hunter, just give me, what time are you at right now?
I'm currently at 23, 22, 21.
Okay, yeah, we're good. We're good.
Great, we're lovely.
But, I mean, right now, the only big difference for this map right now is Rag going over the D.Va instead. I think the Domina would have worked out, I think, a little bit better here, but you need that speed to get you to the point to get set up first. So, knowing you weren't going to probably have that, you go over to D.Va a little bit better. D.Va's still strong at the moment, but that's been one thing me and you consistently seen throughout this Conference Cup, that D.Va really hasn't been getting that much play.
Really hasn't, and to be fair, Ragozo just gets burnt down here. as you're just going to get teared down by the Vendetta. It's still a little back and forth, though. You're trying to hang in there, but Karma's already gotten rid of 2. I just don't think it's going to be enough to turn this fight around, and Karma will be the last one to go down here, as point will go and back the way of Ecuador once more. And already you see the value you get from this Vendetta. Even without the Zarya, it's still really strong.
Yeah, but they're kind of playing the Winston almost like a Zarya. You see it a lot. Emilio has been using that bubble. Essentially not how they would exactly use a Zarya bubble, but you're seeing the Winston and this Vendetta play almost in sync, as you see them both going up on this high ground immediately.
Yeah, immediately. So see what we end up finding early on here. See Karma down early, just puts you, again, in such a bad spot to get the fight started. I don't think you can come back from this, and with Ragozo knocked out of the mech, we're at least going to see the reset for them come through very quickly. You can get a quick one going, but look how aggressively Ecuador is kind of playing up now.
And me and you saw this a lot yesterday. We saw a lot of teams be aggressive because it really did put the other team maybe in a spot where they're not comfortable with really what dealing with, or they just struggle against. And I think right now, if you're Ecuador, you need to do this. Do this as much as you possibly can. Force Honduras, maybe use some stuff early, use some abilities early, so you come right back in with your own. As Kelly did, there's their second death.
Yeah, rough one right there. They're going to keep moving in, though. Crazy opportunity. Still have the ability to kind of hang in here. We're back to the 4v4. Copy going to be online here for Karma. Is going to actually, yeah, he's going to pull that trigger over on that Winston, but their team is just falling apart around them right here. Primal Rage is available to try to make a little bit of a splash here, but Ragozo is literally just going to get bullied off the edge here by Kirby.
And a 2-for-1 investment coming out there for Honduras. Not going to be able to win it is kind of a big problem right there, especially with Lunar Sky invested the Kitsune Rush. And now Ecuador's put themselves in a really good spot. However, one of those kills that Emilio got, I believe was on the Lunar Sky. I really got to figure out how long the hitbox is with that sword, because it seemed like they were at least 10 feet away and they got the kill. But you look over at Ecuador, everything outside the Primal Rage, and you already get rid of Lunar Sky early on.
Oh, that is brutal right there. And Kelly, too, is making this a very winnable fight. Gets rid of a third now. Ragozo's going to have to try to run out of there. And Kelly is going to help clear things out right here. And even with the bomb, it's not going to give another touch, as that's going to be a big cleanup for Ecuador, having themselves a phenomenal map. I don't know if I want to say the best performance we've seen out of them right here, but at least between both of us watching together at once, I think definitely so.
Yeah, from my viewership of Ecuador throughout this entire Conference Cup, that was their best map so far. They looked a lot in sync. And again, we talked about it earlier on. I was surprised to see Emilio on this DPS, as we really only saw him be a support player yesterday. But it seems like maybe this should be their calling right now, because they looked very, very strong in that first map. They're on the Vendetta. Again, another hero we haven't seen that much, especially in day one. I think day two, we start to see a little bit more Vendetta here, but a good start for Ecuador, because like we said, there are stakes on the line for this game, especially just based off what me and you believe. Having 3 losses basically puts your back against the wall, with essentially not having to, you cannot lose another game and have a chance at maybe making that top 3. So both these teams, 3 losses at the moment. A loss here would just eliminate you preemptively, not officially, we believe.
Yeah, that's the mindset of how things are right now. So we'll kind of see how things are proceeding. Again, both teams have to play like it is their very life on the line. In Ecuador so far, the way they have been playing throughout this whole weekend, because remember how scrappy this team has been. Even when they went up against Peru, that does end up being a 2-0. But I'm trying to remember what the second map was. I'll look back on it later. The VOD exists on YouTube, by the way. But remember, they had so many close moments. They took that first opening round on Control, 99-99, made it super compelling. This is a team with a lot of punch-up potential. That unfortunately has played a lot of their toughest games first.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing. You love to see every game kind of spaced out so that the standings might look a little bit better, could look a little bit worse. But still, this is a team that I think, from what we've seen, have been really, really fun to look at. Just an update on what's going on the other game right now. Third point of Oasis currently, it is Puerto Rico with the lead, but Peru does have control of the point at 75% right now. So that one's going to be fun, but back over to this one. Honduras, I mean, this is a team that we saw a couple times. I thought they always got better as series went on, but I think with the fact that this is only a best of or first of 2 has kind of hurt this team a little bit.
I think it kind of hurt the team a little bit because, again, it is less time to be able to bounce back to figure out a different solution. And that's a point we made very early on when we started this yesterday, before any games even begun, was that your ability to adapt is so much more worthwhile here, because if we've only seen, I think, one game so far that we've personally seen where a team took the first map and the other team, quote unquote, reverse swept the other two. I can't think of another game where that's happened thus far.
Yeah, I mean, it was Chile and Peru, the second
Yeah.
game of the day yesterday.
Yeah, literally. And outside of that, we've had games that have gone 3 maps. I've honestly a very healthy amount of them, but none where it was a team like coming back from being down 0-1 and bouncing back in that fashion in such a way. Which, again, maybe that talks a bit about the first to 2 format and what it can and cannot provide. But at the same time, obviously, when you have to do this many games in a small span of time, if it was a first to 3, we would have started at like 8 a.m. and we'd still be at it more than likely.
If it was a first 3, it would have probably required 2 weekends, which
It would've.
I think some teams would have been okay with, but for how everything works schedule-wise, had to be like this, and I understand that. Another quick update on the other game. First map just ended. Peru took it over there, so they are now up 1-0 on Puerto Rico, and again, a very, very important game for those top contenders right now in the standings. But we back over here to Ecuador and Honduras. I mean, a really good performance, I think, out of there from a lot of people, especially on that Honduras side. Even though they didn't get the win, you still saw them be able to play fights how they wanted to, but that second point of night market just kind of went against them at all points. And we saw it. You talked about there for a brief moment. Ecuador started playing very aggressive, and I even mentioned, like, hey, you want to do this, you want to see how a team responds to it, because we've seen some teams very much so far throughout this Conference Cup struggle to deal with the really aggressive play styles that we've seen from a lot of these country teams, while some teams have been able to really handle it well, maneuver around it, maybe take 1 or 2 fights to figure it out, but then once they get past it once, they never really have to deal with it again. Honduras, they need to learn how to, or they not need to learn, they just need to adjust on how they're playing around these really aggressive compositions coming out here from Ecuador.
Yeah, they really need to in this scenario. We see teams be able to deal with aggression very well throughout the weekend. Honduras is one that has kind of struggled a little bit in that aspect right there. They have the ability, and I think the pedigree and skill to be aggressive in their own right. 100% they do. But it's been a struggle to walk into certain teams. You think of teams, again, like they've gone up against that Guatemalan squad earlier today that just kept running it down main. They kept just making sure 9 out of 10 fights they took first. And let me tell you, 9 out of 10 fights, they ended up winning. It's when Honduras believes that they can be the aggressor, that they can take a lot of these angles and push forward, that I think they're at their best, at their most confident. Can they do that here against Ecuador? And I think the answer is 100% yes, they can, but they have to set themselves up to be able to do so. Because if you can win one series, trust me, you can win another.
Yeah, and especially here, we talked about a lot yesterday, just the chaotic kind of style that comes out from a lot of these teams and comes out from this region as a whole. You can really see one team maybe get an upset victory and then just keep on finding upset victory after upset victory after upset victory. That is something that could definitely happen here. And I mean, you could really look at a team like Guatemala. And I wouldn't say any of their victories have necessarily been upsets up to this point, because again, I think there's a big question mark next to them coming into this tournament that has been answered time after time after time again. And Hunter, I kind of want to compare Guatemala to maybe what me and you would always talk about with Emote Down Mid in North American Faces, where they played their own style, and really it was just Cardi fan for the most part playing Doomfist or Wrecking Ball, but they played their own style and it really caused a lot of other teams problems. I think that's what you're seeing though from Glacier, because no one plays Rhine, no one plays Hog, but they're making it work, and it's something that is really, really tough to shut down. Again, we're only talking about this right now as we're still waiting for our second map of this series to get started. But I mean, you look over at Ecuador, I think they had a really good map. I think that DPS line was finding a lot. And I think really the Winston that came out for them has just been good. Winston's surprisingly been a hero we've seen a lot throughout this Conference Cup that I don't think coming into it, you expect to see it a decent amount, but I don't think you expect to see the value that we've been getting from the Winston, especially as a lot of people are talking about Diva at the moment.
Yeah, you wouldn't think so. But again, we fall into that. These certain regions, these teams, they have their own styles that they fall into. And they work. They work a lot of the time, and it's crazy that things have worked as much as they have. I don't know, again, with every tank being played this weekend, there's maybe a couple that I would say, like, oh yeah, they haven't really found, like, any real value. Almost everything has. That Roadhog has found its value. Glacier, showing that Orisa yesterday, found some value as well. The Rhine. You talk about even like the ball a little bit, where Opening doing as much as they can, took a couple of really good maps on that ball as well for Panama. Everything finds its value, and it's a very big interpretation of like how diverse things are in this region and everything that they can do. But we'll see kind of how that keeps working forward, because we do run into some teams that have very similar styles. And while it hasn't happened a lot today, it did happen a bit yesterday where we run into those mirror comps where it's like, oh, we play the exact same thing. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, it's mostly been those teams that are currently sitting towards the top of the bracket right now, or top of the standings. And I mean, you kind of expect that. A lot of those teams that are sitting at the top of the standings right now honestly have a lot of teammates that in face it, like they share a couple of big teams here. But looks like we're gonna be heading into our second map here momentarily for our series, Ecuador and Honduras. And Hunter, this has been a really popular map here for map number 2. We're gonna be heading to Runasapi on this push map, and coming out of the gate, looks like we're seeing Self come back in here now on the side of Honduras. Didn't see them that first map, which is a big surprise because I think they were probably one of the more known players on this team. But on the other side, it looks like no big changes. And I mean, still, you're going to see Kirby play this Winston until I really think Honduras can prove that they can shut it down.
Yeah, no, 100%. So we'll see how things will adjust from here. But obviously, with Regozo on the Zarya, it is quite the adjustment, because we're back to that Zarya vendetta that we just said 10 minutes ago. Oh, these regions don't tend to play that much. Well, here we are. It's happening. And it's a good adjustment overall. We'll see how well it ends up working out, though, as that's a really aggressive jump in there from Kirby, who would be lucky to get out of here alive, I think, and actually will be able to. Unfortunately, Zia is going to pay for it in blood as we start going back and forth. Self being down early makes things a little more difficult to kind of take that aggression, really take, you know, the fight forward. But Regozo's doing a really good job of pelting down each person one at a time. Will be able to help take that fight win and put them in a good position. Kirby, yeah, just has to run for it.
And if you're Honduras, this is the exact start you need. You needed a good, fast start. And yeah, me and you talked about this map being a real, like, seesaw, teeter-totter type of map where one team can get something going, the other team can get something going right back after that. But you want, if you're Honduras, you want to get off to a fast start here. You need to keep Lunar alive, as they've been playing a very aggressive, Kelly got to be able to find him, but like I was going to say, Lunar's been playing a very aggressive Kiriko, which can really be a benefit to some teams, sometimes, so it can cost you.
Oh, yes, it certainly can right now, and this aggression has not been stopped thus far, and Daniel's just a little too deep in right now. It's eventually going to get shut down, but you take the Sojourn trade. You kind of stay in this one, but as I say that, yeah, they're going to get burnt to shreds right there. Luna Sky back in the spawn as they'll take the reset, and more than likely lead will have to be given up right here. But you're looking at ult economy, and at the very least, Sound Barrier is going to be online early for Benja.
Yeah, and for Honduras, that's going to be really big here because you need to get something going right now, and you have the opportunity to really play fast here. I mean, you could use this beat early just to try to get your team into the fight fast. Like I said, there's really nothing on the other side you really truly have to worry about with it, because it will just go through anything. But Rag, they have been on fire so far this map.
100% they have. Doing a lot here, but still gotta keep on trucking forward right now, as you see Self just eventually just gonna be secluded over into the room and taken care of from there. Regozo maybe in the same exact condition right now. Prime Rage is available right here. We've seen Kirby being willing to be very aggressive in the past with it. A Sound Barrier is used for it, but unfortunately it doesn't catch on to the people that were in danger. It doesn't end up mattering a whole lot anyway, as these ultimates ended up not doing a whole lot, but really killing time for both these teams. But Kirby going down puts them in a critical situation. This will be a fight win for Honduras. At least it should be. Regozo gets hunted down. Things not quite as they appear, but Self is back to try to save the day.
Yeah, and I mean, they need to be able to clean up the rest of Ecuador right now. They need to get going back the other way, because this could be an opportunity to get the checkpoint, even though you don't have Rag with you. But you look at what Ecuador is coming up to here. It's good too much out from Lunar. You need to find the picks, but they're struggling to. They will find Zaya, though.
Yeah, and you're going to see 2 coming through for Self right there, as you're going to be able to regroup, and it's a 3v5 right now. As Rush helps them make the room. You're trying to stall things out as much as you can. Yeah, you saw Kirby just hiding over on the inside right there. Maybe stalls it enough to get everybody back in time for a retouch to go in one more time here, and I think they're going to try it.
They're definitely going to try it here. I think it would almost be kind of dumb for them not to. There you go. Kirby going to go in, but the grab coming out from Rag. You need to be able to clean up. Nice beat, though, from Karn.
Yeah, 100% right there. Rainy Day, good kill right there. Gets rid of a second. And that's going to be the cleanup crew coming through right there. Honestly, I think I like the grab going on their aggression, but honestly, I may have liked pulling out slightly earlier to, at the very least, prevent that touch that came through from Kirby.
Yeah, but here's the other thing. I mean, you had to know whenever that grab was coming out, Karn was going to be right there with the beat. I think the only thing you would kind of like back right there would have been that overclock from Daniel, but at the same time, I understand why you use it. But now, Self is the only one with an ultimate wall. You look at Ecuador here in a really good spot. 3 ultimates, both their DPS ultimates, and especially this Kitsune Rush, which is going to make Rainy Day look almost unfair on this Vendetta if they're in it.
Oh, 100%. So we'll see as lead close to being overtaken right now, and there's nothing really sitting by as you're going to have to give up. Yeah, you give up the checkpoint on top of that right now, and Rainy Day's going to try to cut through more bodies, and Daniel will go down as a result, and Honduras beginning to fall apart after a really good start.
A really good start, but there's still over half this map left to go right now. Benja Persona, I don't think is going to be able to escape here as Rainy Day, I believe, finds their 3rd or 4th of the fight. But I think if you're Ecuador, again, you had that ultimate advantage going into that fight. Self, yeah, they used their own Sundering Blade, didn't find anything. Rainy Day, they did. And look, Kelly Dunn has overclock. Kirby going to have another Primal Rage here, and Karn, another beat. There's really only the beat on the other side from Benja Persona that can come online for Honduras right now. So this is a very important fight for Honduras. You need to win it dry, and hell, getting Kelly Dunn ultimate out without finding anything would be huge, as they're already finding one.
Yeah, that they are, and Kelly's been going off this whole day so far, is hoping to continuously do so. Everyone from Honduras is going to fall apart once more. Daniel, last one on the point, will go down. This lead going to extend even further. Now you're going in this fight with the sound barrier. You're still at the Kitsune, well, not the Kitsune Rush, I should say. You're about to have the Primal Rage online, as Kitsune Rush is going to be available for Lunar Sky shortly.
And beat as well. You're gonna have double support weapons right now for Honduras, but you need to find something. This is now getting very, very scary for them. Rounding the final stretch into the home turn here is gonna be exactly what Ecuador is looking to do here. But Daniel finding Kelly is exactly what you needed here. I don't know if I like the investment of the Kitsune Rush though.
Yeah, because everyone's just out of there. You shouldn't be able to find anybody off the back of this right here. You would love to maybe get out the beat if possible right here, but you get the Primal Rage out, which honestly, in its own right's pretty big, as the beat gets used, and now they're kind of in its win at this point. It's going to be thrown directly back in their faces, and everyone's thrown into the corner, forced back further and further away from one another. Ragozo trying to stay alive, bested their ability right here, but eventually resources going to run dry, and everyone is going to potentially be on the run as Daniel trying to pull this one back, which is not going to happen though.
It is not, and I mean, again, the Kitsune Rush coming out there from Lunar, I understand why they're doing it, maybe trying to really get that fight going, try to win it quickly so that they can get going back the other way. The beat, I understand as well, but Karn, I think, I mean, the beat came out from them. I think it was a good usage of it, even though Rag is coming up to a grab. That's gonna be their win condition here for this next fight, as Rainy Day going right after Self.
Yep, doing their best to, trucking on forward as overclock used from Daniel to make a little bit more space in this engagement so far. Rainy Day does go down though, but to Benja, so now the door potentially opening to start bringing this one back around. You have that Graviton Surge again for Ragozo, and unfortunately no beat available to stop it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I mean, Rag now has his grab for free, and we did see a big comeback yesterday. Lunar finding Kelly Dud out is exactly what you need here if you're Honduras. Remember, they do not have these forward spawns. One more pick here might just guarantee you the forward spawns without really much of a contest from Ecuador, as you already see Rag going straight up. They're, I think, potentially thinking about the grab, and yeah, they just want to get rid of Kirby, which I think is smart, but they need to find them.
Yeah, that they will, and now forward spawns activated, and now you need to, oh my god! Crazy.
Okay.
If you get another here, that's massive. I don't think you will, but still, wow.
I was going to say the tectonic shock was... Okay. Okay, Rainey's in the back line. You know, maybe one of the scariest characters in the game for this entire year. You just leave him in the back line, and they find 3.
Ay, ay, ay. At least they have forward spawns. You give them that, but man, you needed that momentum right there so badly.
And I mean, still 2 minutes on the clock. Honduras is not out of this map just yet, but you look over at the Ultimate Economy, they are kind of behind here. You need to get a fight to go your way while Ecuador uses some of their ultimates. And you're starting to see an early contest come out here. That's what you want. I think they were going to look for the Kitsune Rush, but they get taken out early.
Yeah, and now this is going to be worth the pull back from, but still you're throwing back and forth Kirby. I imagine they might go in this fight. In fact, you take the trade outs, you're back into a 2v2. Kirby still has all the health in the world. I think it's going to be aggressive to take the 2v1 right here with that Primal Rage. And yeah, they're going to go for it. They clear out Self. It's the one-on-one, and unfortunately, this is not a fight. A Sojourn is going to win right here as Daniel's trying to run for it. Such will not happen, though. The final person standing is Kirby, as they're going to win the fight, but it's not going to help them push it back any further.
I gotta give Daniel some
Right?
credit for living so long right there. They probably should have died a little bit quicker. Ford spawns, though, now back in control here for Ecuador. A minute left on the clock, and still 2 ultimates, about to be 3 ready to go for them here. Honduras, they're gonna have their Kitsune Rush overclock and maybe a beat ready to go this fight, but you really need to win this dry here. You need to hold on to these ultimates. Again, when we talk about Chile and Peru from yesterday, Chile held on to ultimates in this kind of situation, won a fight, and then just kept going the other way with those ultimates.
Yeah, right there in this fight. Seems done and dusted, but you're going to see right now, Tia's just going to go over towards the bot and just keep pushing it. Gets the kill over onto Daniel, by the way. This fight could potentially be turning on its head, but we're back into the 3v3 as it's going to head back the other way. But now with 35 seconds left, it has to be utter perfection from Honduras to keep their chances alive.
Suzu out there early from Lunar. Again, if you could find Kelly, that would have been huge. But remember, 4 spawns back in control here for Ecuador. They're going to be really quick back into this fight as Lunar now playing for their life.
Yeah, no, Sound Barrier has to be used here and now. You're going to see it be held onto for a moment here. In the immediate response back coming through, it's down to Daniel. The potential clutch this one background hasn't done such quite yet, and it's going to be pushed back even further. Self going to have that tectonic shock ready to go, but Daniel is down early, and now they take the fight to the point. There's nowhere left to hide here as Kirby at least going to try to duck and bomb and weave as much as you possibly can, try to get some care going on as the lane directly over onto Benja. And unfortunately for Honduras, this one is done and dusted. Ecuador are going to take it in 2-0 fashion. They'll keep their chances alive.
Big win here for Ecuador. I believe now this is 2 straight wins for them here. They've been working really good in this second day. And like you said, keeping their chances alive. Honduras, again, I think we're still got to say I think they have a chance, especially if a couple teams just get chaotic, which we have seen in this region before, so I'm not counting it out. And they had moments. They had their moments. They got off to such a good start. They got off to a fast start. Like I said, they really needed. But one thing I did mention, this is one of those maps where you see kind of go back and forth, a little bit of a seesaw. Ecuador, I think, has played a lot smarter of a map. Where I think Kirby, again, on this Winston, has been such a big problem for anyone that's gone up against them. Even in the games that Ecuador has lost, Kirby has always been one of those standout players that we have talked about.
Yeah, no, 100%. And they didn't have as much luck in that first day, but still, they fall. I think they fall into the type of somebody like a Glacier, someone who loves to be aggressive, to take fights first. And I think it really showed up in a time where, honestly, it desperately needed to show up. So it's a really good performance by them. We'll see how it aids them kind of going forward with the rest of the week. Because obviously, like we said, I think they've had a lot of their tough games early. And maybe it puts them in a position. You never know. I mean, there's still 2 undefeated teams, which does kind of put things in a weird situation. But you never know what can happen right now with so many games still remaining.